Alright, so let's do a quick review. What we learned. So as you can see, this is what we learned. We learned what is HTML. We learned HTML basics. And we learned HTML basics too. So what are we going to do next? Well, we're going to start to create a form. So we're going to start to create a form. Cool. Form is this really cool stuff. Okay. Form. So, by starting, you should already know that we usually start a form by using a form tag, which is declare, hey browser, render the following code as a form. Alright. So today we will learn something about form. We will create form elements such as text field, checkbox, and radio button, and a submit button. And also add some code show required and placeholder and pre-selected. Well, you know of that at the end. So we are going to start. Well, let's start this off. We will create a form. So let's start with create an input type. So I'm going to ask my audience what is their name by starting with this simple with just create a paragraph name. Then you're gonna line break it and then put a input type equal to text. Then we'll scroll down. You'll see, hey, I create a name. So as you can see, we just create a name tag. Actually, I think these two should be combined. So you don't need a line break, right? It does it. Alright. So actually we're going to start by create a label. Because label just label. And yeah, as you can see, after we create a label, if you see that, well, name is the text box is just like right hand side of the name. So label is useful. Okay, you can create a paragraph if you want. Label is not a required stuff, but it's for good practice. And so now we know how to input a text field. And now we're going to create a checkbox. So I copy and paste the checkbox. As you can see, I want to ask them what language do you want to learn? Alright, so yeah, I'm gonna create a line break between these two. So more nicely, great. So, what language you want to learn? HTML, which is a language that we are learning right now, and CSS and JavaScript. And let's keep creating some, for example, Python. Or let's do a server side PHP. Okay, that's all the 5 that I been provided to my audience. What do you want to learn? So I know which next series after HTML and CSS what should I taught. Alright, so Now, before it go too deeper, let's see what actually inside the code is. So this is label for. So for is just mean, well, what is label for? And then input ID is equal to language and name equal to language. For best practice, we really want format names to be the same. ID can be the difference if you want. And you can see input type is a checkbox. That's why I get checkbox. And then name equal to language. And then you're gonna type HTML and /label. And you can see input is self-closing tag, which is mean you don't need to add /input at the end of it. Okay, you don't have to do that. Well, technically you can, but you just don't have to, and it's not professional if you do that. Okay, all right. So far we have two sections now on the form. We create a name. We create what language you want to learn. And now let's create some radio button, show some experience. So, let's go create that. Label for experience. I'm gonna style it a little bit. Good. So, label for experience. Oh, okay. Label for experience. Input ID equal to experience. You can see it's almost the same as the checkbox, except we change the checkbox to radio buttons. Alright, so I'm gonna show some experience. For example, no experience at all. And I'm gonna create a BR. If you recall, BR is a line break. So for example, I'm gonna say how many experience. That does not make sense, but how many experience do you have in any of the programming language? How many experience do you have? Okay. So you can say no experience at all. Some experience, a little experience. Some experience. A lot of experience. Master, at least. Proficient. I'm gonna say proficient. At least one programming language. Alright. As you can see, you create some boxes. And radio button. Since it's in my screen, it's like half and half. Like I put it a little bit smaller, so you can see it's not really good for the version for you to see. Like I'll crush down to it together. But if you want to, I'm gonna put the link in the description and you can check it out so you can see what actual form looks like. So now we have three key things. Now we're gonna add a final key thing. And if you don't have this, all of this work are useless because you cannot create a form without a submit button. Why I also lose the label? You cannot create a form without submit button. Alright, so with submit so you need to know that button has a lot things it can do. Especially when learning JavaScript, we can use some to query some data, show some data based on user's input, something like that. So we did is button type equal to submit. And what this button gonna do is, I'm just gonna say submit. Alright, So, and let me create a BR. So, good. Now, as you can see, we did everything. Okay, but why when I click the button give me this pass? Well, because we missed some stuff on the form. You need to type action. And what will action do is it is going to be a server-side programming language such as PHP. It's going to save into a database base or something, and then I can view the data later. For example, I'm gonna just say example.php. I didn't create any PHP content. Since this is a HTML tutorial, so I didn't create any PHP content. And if you click the submit button, it's still gonna say boom boom. Cause first, I don't have a like a PHP on this boom boom /v2/example.php. I don't have that. Alright, and I don't have access to boom boom /version v2. This is only a codepen.io thingy. Alright, so yeah, it's a little bit complicated to understand now, so we're just gonna leave them alone for now. Alright. Good. So now you can see we add a lot of line to our code. But there's still something that I want to do. Let me do a save first. Good. So, but there's still something we want to do. For example, what if you want to add a placeholder to that? For example, what placeholder is, as you can see, so for example, I can just write name. It's a gray format and it's a placeholder. I'm going to show you how to do that. So go to input type equal to text, add a space. Now you're going to say placeholder equal to quotation mark. They're going to type what will be placeholder. For example, enter your name here. And as you can see, we got a placeholder. Great. So now we did all these. And what if we want to require some stuff? For example, before I click submit, I want to make sure it fills out all the form in here. So how can we do that? All the options, like he need to fill out name. If the person wants to submit it, we must check, did he or she fill out the name, the languages they want to learn, or how many experience do they have. If they don't, then the form cannot be submitted successfully, or vice versa. So how can we do that? We're going to use a required. Create a required. What required do is really simple. Just basically type required. Okay, required. And if you want to, I'm just gonna say what language you want to learn, and you can type in either of the label of the checkbox and type required. Let's see what we have if we click submit. You can see we need to fill out this field. What happens when we click submit next? You can see please check this box if you want to proceed. So for example, I need to check this. Oops. So here you go. There's a first bug in our program. We can't do that. What we can do is we must add a label right here. Let's see will this work. For example, I'm just gonna type some random name. Oops. Okay, cancel. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead. So as you can see, we require the name tag. So like, if you don't type your name, you can't submit this file. Okay, now submit this form. And so now what we'll do is I want to add a required to the form. So let's see. Make a big label. Let's see. Add a required on here. What will be happen? Okay, so nothing. I'm also discovering this. So okay, so as you can see, if you type your name right here, and you can use box, you can select the radio button and then click submit. You can do that. I'm not sure can checkbox required. I'm gonna double check on the documentation page. If you want, you can also check it. Alright, so we have final things to do. Is what we will do is what if you want to use their what if you want when they load this form you want them pre-select, which is mean like when I refresh this form I want this this radio buttons section I want to pre-select. It's already select some experience or no experience. So what we'll do is let's find no experience, and I'm going to add check. So what will be happen if I refresh this page now? Let's save it. I'm gonna refresh this page. Okay, so nothing happened. Oh wait. Let me take a look. Okay. So maybe the CodePen.io didn't support that for some reason. I'm going to take a look of that. So, well, it should be work if you add a check. So it should be automatically select this. And let me try. No, I don't think it actually supports that. But anyway, that's how you usually do that on CodePen, on HTML. So now we learn actually. Remember we said required for the checkboxes. So I think if I would just add required to every boxes. Required. Actually no. Just going to force them to sell. Alright. So now let's review what we did. We create a form. Let's take users' input of name and what language do they want to learn, how many experience do they have. I also create a placeholder for that, and also create a button. So now that's the end of this video, and thank you for watching. Yeah.